Bet. Yes, yes, y'all. This is Sylvain, and I got my partner in crime, Mr. Carr. Crossover. You know what? I'm gonna have to get that sound effect so our producer could just keep playing it every time I say that. Mr. Carr. Crossover. What it do, baby?
Hey
You
man,
back from Georgia?
we back. Hey, it's amazing to be able to get back to the home state, get back to family, get back to In Touch Radio.
That's
The
right.
audience, I missed you, and the opportunity to share and part ways with my man 50 Grant all the way from Brooklyn's
Brooklyn's in
in
the
the
house.
house.
No doubt.
No doubt. Love it. But now, man, we've been good. We've been good. How about you? What's been going on, man? How
Oh
things?
man, there's a lot going on. You know what? First, I just got to make an announcement.
Go ahead.
You know I love my New York City,
Yes.
so I am going to be supporting Mr. Ray McGuire. Ray McGuire, Vice Chairman of Citigroup, has stepped down in October to now run for mayor of New York City. You know I don't really talk politics
Mm-mm. You
up in
never
here,
hardly talk.
but I believe in Ray McGuire, and I'm going to tell you why for New York City. Now, you know I live in Tampa,
Okay.
and then we got to
So
give a big shout out to Tampa Bay Bucks for the
yes, we're gonna
AFC
talk about that.
Championship.
No
I had a
doubt.
client today that I was talking to from Green Bay, and I was like, you know, I got a root for my Bucks. We don't do cheese down here in Tampa, but anyway, but anyway,
We do not.
um, yeah, I'm going to be helping the campaign for Ray McGuire. He's having a party. DJ D Nice is going to be doing the party. Um,
Mm.
the reason why I believe in Ray McGuire is this. Um, I like the other candidates. You know, the Eric Adams, the Andrew Wang has entered into the candidacy for the
Mm-hmm.
mayor race. But this is the one thing that I believe that New York City needs, especially during this dark time that we're facing in New York City. Companies are leaving by the droves. We're seeing plenty of companies come down to Florida. A lot of the hedge fund managers, Wall Streeters, they're coming down to South Florida. On the West Coast, they're leaving California and they're making an exodus to Austin, Texas, and to Texas,
Yes, we've
right?
seen that. Yes.
And one of the main reasons is, you know, people are sick and tired of the taxes, and this pandemic has really had a major effect on a lot of companies, which in turn affects the employees. And I'll give you a great example of that. I have three sister-in-laws that worked in Wall Street,
Mm-hmm.
and we've all done well for themselves. And because they worked at Wall Street, they patronize a lot of the bagels and the restaurants and the stores within New York City and things of that nature, and that's cascaded down to taking care of their kids and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, we're all down here in Florida, but the point I'm making is that when those big companies leave, it takes away a lot of the business that these small business owners that are in New York City, like the small coffee shops and the bagels and the hot dog stand, they're really affected. And right now, Broadway is shut down, and so we need a
Mm-hmm.
leader that can galvanize and show and prove that they can bridge the gap. And I believe Ray McGuire can do that because he has relationships with the folks on top, but he also can relate to the folks at the bottom. He's involved in the cultural affairs with the city. A lot of people don't know that. He's done stuff in the museums, whether it's the Whitney or the Studio Museum of Harlem. He's done stuff for charter schools. So he bridges the gap, but he's not a person that likes to flaunt his works. But now,
Mm-hmm.
being that he's running for mayor, it's time for him to shine. And yesterday, Butch Graves from Black Enterprise
Yes, we
also
know
endorsed him.
Butch.
Yep, also
Okay.
endorsed him.
Okay.
So we need people to know Ray McGuire. So go to www.rayformayor.com. As a matter of fact, his stepson plays for the Orlando Magic.
Okay, who was the
So
stepson?
Cole
Which
Anthony.
okay, Cole Anthony,
Cole
yes, North
Anthony is
Carolina
that's
grad.
right, is his stepson. So so please go to that website, www.rayformayor.com. Other
Okay,
than that,
good
what's
stuff.
happening in the music world, big shout out to my man Mark Pitts once again for getting hired as president of RCA Music. That is awesome
Mm-hmm.
news.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Live Nation just bought a stake in a live streaming concert platform. A couple of weeks ago, Live Nation had to take some loans out to help pay for. They had to help pay for salaries and infrastructure because the live concert business is not really happening, right? So it's very interesting that they're making some moves on this virtual platform. So
Mm-hmm.
um, and one other thing I do want to highlight is lady by the name of Audrey Ashby. She just got promoted, God bless her, to SVP, Senior Vice President of Business Affairs and Catalog at Sony ATV, which is the former publishing company of Michael Jackson, and now it's run by Mr. John Platt, and she's been promoted to SVP, which is fantastic. What do you got to talk about in the world of sports? Because we got to talk a little something, something about that.
Well, man, obviously we're gonna keep it close to home real quick. Shout out to our Tampa Bay Bucks for defeating quite handily. It was interesting, but they broke it out, the New Orleans Saints last week, and now we are headed into what I call affectionately the Battle of the Bay.
The
And the
Battle of
Bay
the
has
Bays.
to be won from the South. Yes, you got to come, well, we got to go up there, but we're going to win it. We know how to play. We got a quarterback, Brady, who knows how to play in cold weather. Some of the other guys may not, but the old trick master Brady, he's going to pull it out. He always figure it out. So this is going to be real interesting because Aaron Rodgers is no spring chicken. He brings a set of experiences himself. So knowing that these two aces are going to be going battle for battle, possession for possession, they got great receiver matchups, great quarterback matchups. Offensive lines are seeming to hold on both sides. So it's going to be up to the defense. And
Yes.
we know defense what wins
Wins
games.
championships. That's
Yes,
right.
then wins champions. This is for the AFC, all the marbles. Winner takes at least the championship. The other one goes home. That's right. Goes home for a long, long summer saying coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Shoulda.
And we know how that feels. We don't want that to happen. It's been a long time for Tampa to be here. But I've got my friend Terrell Whitley who would say otherwise. He is a big buck. He's a big Green Bay fan from Milwaukee, all that. I don't know too
Oh.
many brothers from Milwaukee, but he is one and he's got everything, the marbles and everything on the Bay. So me and him got a little thing going on. Shout out to Terrell Whitley. Get better, my friend. Feeling a little down, but we know that the game is going to get you up. And when I come and knock on that door on Sunday night, I want you to pick up the phone and say, Kev, your team won. Anyway, we're gonna be back. The other side of this is you know, sports from a baseball standpoint. Man, did you see the little issue in baseball with the Nets GM? Did you see that?
The
Ooh,
Mets
man.
GM, yeah.
Yeah,
But you know what?
unfortunate.
Steve Cohen is who's a hedge fund manager, no shorts, zero tolerance, and he took
Yep.
care of that. I
Handled it.
mean, I'm sorry, man. What are you thinking? But I mean, say la vie, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, we're keeping it real here. Professionalism is still a big piece of how people maintain success. You have to keep things like that totally out of inappropriate, never ever should be subjected to for anybody. And we certainly feel for the young lady who had to go through that. But we also know that, when you do stuff like that, you will pay the consequences. And man, those positions like that, they don't grow on trees. He may
Mm-mm.
never get back. And, it's unfortunate that whatever compelled him to do that. Uh, Lesson to the young, lesson to the seasoned. Anytime you practice inappropriate things, you bound to find out. So if you don't want it to be found out, do not send it through your phones. Do not. Period. Don't do it. Period.
Don't
Number
do it.
one.
Right. Don't
Period.
don't don't even do it. Period, man.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
very, very much, like the thing that would propel someone to even do that is just beyond me. But that's a huge thing, big issue in baseball. We'll probably see more repercussions as a result of that, unfortunately. And the last thing, the NBA, what's going on with the NBA. Lots of power trades last week and now into this week. There's still Mr. Kyrie Irving. I know Kyrie, certainly we hope that whatever's happening in your world that you get better. This is, I've seen this before. Unfortunately, there was a player that played and he walked away. People say it was crazy. He walked away for almost $50 million because he did not feel like he wanted to play, and he did leave, and he did not come back. And then later on, he tried to come back and could not do it. Came back for a couple games. So this is a not unusual place to be in. But sometimes, the game can be very difficult from everyone else's vantage point except for that person. So whatever that person's going through, I totally respect it. We're in an age in which health, perhaps mental health, perhaps, environments where things are just not right for someone, whatever causes them. But seriously, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speculate what's going on with the brother. We hope the brother gets well. But in the news, it certainly is not playing out well. Everybody from ESPN to so and so are saying that there's something wrong. Of course it is. So we know that. But just having a personal relationship, there's some empathy on my side that I feel for the person. So I'm taking a different kind of approach. I'm not going to laugh at this because it's very serious. I've been inside the NBA when players experience certain things that take them out of the game and you don't know what it is. And I've seen people walk away from what people would say can't possibly you would ever walk away. I've seen it. So certainly I take this very serious versus other people making, things in slights because you don't know what's going on with somebody.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, Kevin, because I don't know Kyrie personally, but I can see in his eyes that something is weighing heavy in that brother. And the theme of today's show is neutralizing negativity. And we got
Mm,
one more minute before we go on break. But the one thing I want to say about the Kyrie thing, man, I'm praying for him because at the end of the day, you know, being in the limelight and in entertainment, whether you're professional basketball, whether you're a singer, actor, you are under a magnifying glass, and every single little thing that you do gets scrutinized. And even when you might have a misjudgment in how to communicate with the media, because the reality is you have to learn how to work with the media and use the media as a tool as opposed to um, isolating them and not communicating with your team, and that's why these people are attacking him. And I'm happy that he had mentioned during his press conference today that he has now assembled a team to help galvanize him and encourage him and get him going. So
mm,
what I love is our guest is going to talk about microaggressions and handling things, whether it's from an HR perspective or just in general in life. So
mhm.
after the break, once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We'll see you after the break, after we pay some commercials.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, Or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one? It feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
All right, we back. Hey, I just got some quick news. A local yokel, Mr. Brad Holmes, was just named GM of the Detroit Lions. His mother is a retired administrator for the HCC, Hillsborough Community College. So we want to give a big shout out to Mr. Brad Holmes, a brother being a GM of the Lions. That's big time. So today we have an African-American woman from Harlem, New York, an NYU alum. You know that's fam. You know I got to big up my NYU fam.
Okay.
She's an entrepreneur, project manager, IT. She specializes in leveraging Workday for HR applications and then some. She's responsible for managing a portfolio of projects and communication across multiple cross-functional teams. She has a plethora of experience in regards to combining both technical and project management, and her expertise in HR, technology, strategy, and digital transformation, which is a big word and a big thing that most companies are going through, because we know that whether it's social media or making sure that you have a virtual presence is key. And so she is pioneer and leading that initiative. She's also has a growing passion for becoming a microaggression educator, an advocate for women, and she's looking to develop a new digital platform. Her passion comes from her own personal experiences in the workplace throughout her career, and also her experiences by her peers. Her mantra is sharing experiences is the most powerful way to help others. The digital platform will be built on this vision, and she's going to create a safe place filled with resources and tools to educate individuals on microaggression, a form of abuse experienced by many African-American women in corporate environments at all levels of organizations. In addition to that, she wants to define the segment of consumers she plans to serve, and her target audience will be the C-suite and HR leadership executives for presenting these tools and services. She's worked in the fashion industry, music, financial services, education, retail, and healthcare, energy, and nonprofit. Obviously, like I told you, she's a sister from NYU, but she also has a master's from Mercy College and her project management certificate and business analyst certificate from Pace University. And she's going to be known as the Stacey Abrams of microaggression. Let's welcome to the show, Miss Chavay Johnson, in the place to be. What it do, baby? Are you cold up there, NY?
Yes, very cold. It's cold up here.
Yeah, we chilling. All we gotta do is wear a little sweatshirt, right, Kev? You
I
got
know.
your jacket.
We actually really don't need this, but hey, it's bird cold, so we trying to send a vibe, good vibe here.
Oh, wow. That's great. This week it's pretty dry, not too cold. We're in the 40s. So that's not too bad,
Yeah, that's not
especially,
bad.
yeah,
That's
considering what
walking.
it would normally be. Yeah.
I call that walking fast weather.
Right.
And if you're from New York, you can relate, right? You understand what I'm saying,
Yeah,
Kev?
Yes.
absolutely. I
Yes.
do.
The winds are coming in the city. Yeah, you walking fast, baby. You walking fast. So, how you doing? How's everything? How you managing with COVID? And welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you. So, you know, like everyone else, blindsided by COVID. Um, I was actually laid off. So I was a part of a COVID layoff. I was at the time last year in March working for a quasi government agency in energy as a project manager, working with C suite, HR executives. And I wasn't considered an essential worker. So I became a part of that workforce reduction. And I took some time off to just kind of understand what was happening in our world. And I started my job search, I would say, probably once things started to pick up again after we got out of the shelter in place, which was during the springtime. And I decided at that point that I wasn't prepared to go back into the corporate environment. There's like a saying, I guess I had just been cut too many times and I was ready to embark on my own, like starting my own business, a consulting business. So doing the same, type of work, but actually becoming my own employer, boss, and starting my own business. So I'm currently consulting.
Well, that is awesome.
That's
Congratulations.
good.
Thank
We're
you.
so proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my career crossover question, now that you have crossed over, basketball is big in New York, so you can deal, the analogy as a fellow HR executive, I have HR MBA as well. How have you transitioned from being an executive to a boss now? And what impact did it have on your own, let's say, money or ability to generate income at first?
Well, it had a huge impact, as you know, because I would definitely say we prepared for that rainy day, but I don't think anyone could have prepared for what we, were confronted with COVID. So, you know, learning that thousands started off as hundreds to thousands to millions of people being laid off, now you're looking at your budget, your personal expenses, and if you're considering to start your own business, like as a consultant, where you're actually going to be employing yourself, it's a huge adjustment. So, in terms of the type of work that I decided that I was going to seek, how I was going to determine the type of comp or, rate to be paid, I had to really dig down deep and figure out what was going to be the strategy and plan for that. Often, when you first start pursuing consulting, you are often recruited by agencies who are going to, play the middleman, pay you a rate, and out of the rate that they receive from the client, they're usually taking anywhere from, 35% and up of that rate. So just to give you an example, if the organization is paying for, the type of role that I would fill, which would be like a project manager or program manager, primarily working with people and systems, then that rate, the average might run anywhere from, I would say, minimum 45 all the way up, depending on the basis of the project or the work, up to like $175. Really, is that, broad of a range. And from there, I had to really determine, do I want to just be paid for the knowledge and experience I have? Or do I want to be paid for more than just we coin that phrase, your value, your worth. Do I also want to be paid for the level of effort, that I will have to actually invest in this role? Because ideally, I'm starting my own consulting business, but realistically with the type of work I do, it's almost unrealistic to think that I'm going to have multiple clients and manage a huge portfolio of clients. I'm most likely going to be working with minimum, 1 to 2 clients at a time. So with that, I developed a little formula where I look at I'm not just looking at the job description. I'm not just looking at the role and the requirements for the job. I'm also not even looking at the rate that's being offered. I'm also thinking about what level of effort I'm going to have to invest. What resources am I going to have to invest? When people coin the phrase and just use it so loosely, your worth, your value, it's a little bit beyond just your education and your years of experience. It's also, what is it going to take for you to get the job done? What is your estimate, your level of work based on the requirements that they're giving you? Not so much the person who may be brokering the deal, or even if you're working with the client direct, but real expectations. What are you expecting me to come in here and do within this first, I would even go lower than 30 days. Like, what are you expecting me to do in the first, 2 weeks? What does your onboarding look like? So, you really have to ask a lot of different questions so you understand your starting point, what is going to be required of you to begin the job, and then also what are you going to need to actually do the job. And with all of that, again, that boils down into that level of effort, also the value. Where are you as not the client, and that being your customer, but you also as the provider of these services, where are you going to get the most value? So in terms of, not just working hourly, but also, in terms of the time that you're going to invest in the resources. And then you pretty much have to calculate that, put a rate on that, and that's where you come up with the comp. So with me doing that type of research and looking at it differently, not just me starting a business, becoming my own boss, transitioning from an executive into a boss role, but also, what all am I going to have to sacrifice to get this job done? And with that, I could say the best example I could compare that to is like, for example, you're purchasing a home. There's many different factors you got to factor into that. It's not just about, what you can afford, your credit and the rate, for interest, it's a loan. It's also like, what all are you going to have to sacrifice? What all are you going to have to invest? So that's how I've been able to, transition in terms of becoming a boss. I have learned, what to ask for. And it's a reciprocal, exchange in terms of, the employer knows or the client knows what they need from you and what they want you to do to get the job done. And you have to be on the other end doing the same thing.
Well, you have an unfair advantage because, and I'm happy, we really appreciate you sharing those tips because number one, that type of knowledge that you just spewed just now is definitely some C-suite secrets. Wouldn't you agree, Kevin? She was
absolutely.
She was dropping some C-suite secrets, and number one, and number two, I love the way you broke it down, where you don't focus on what the recs are or the requisites that they're looking for. You focus on the results that they're looking to obtain, and that's how you can help negotiate your value. And speaking of which, so what are the tips that you can share with our audience in which we can leverage and share as a strategy to negotiate compensation for people?
Well, do your research. That's always key.
Now, when you say research, let's backtrack. What do you mean by research?
Yeah, I was going to break it down and give you an example. So for one, you really want to understand the role. Not just reading into the requirements, but also learning about the organization. Not just going to their website and, viewing their current events or the news. You really want to go into their career section if there's any testimony videos from employees that are in similar roles or anything close to the type of role that you're applying for or you're being interviewed for. That's key. Even if it's unrelated, that's key. You want to do some research on salaries. Salaries not offered, just in general for that role, but in your location, locally, on a state level, even federally. You also want to do some research for salaries offered at organizations that are, similar to one that you're interviewing for. You can even sometimes even do research for salaries offered at that organization for that role. You can do a lot of that research on any of the sites, Indeed, LinkedIn, they all usually offer that type of information. And then, another thing I like to do is I also go to the Bureau of Labor statistics. So you can look there as well. You can also, I've done this, I've gone as far because I like to really get as close to the known amount as possible. You can also reach out to individuals in the organization or individuals that are in that type of role through LinkedIn. I've done that as well, and they've given me a range. You can ask for a range. You don't have to, send them a message asking them for their actual salary, but you could just ask, like, hey, I'm interviewing, I have interest in this type of role. You can give a little tidbit on the information you found so far, and you just ask them, like, is that in the ballpark of what organizations are paying, or in the industry? Or you can get very specific and say and give the organization name. Nowadays with social media, as you know, very little is hidden. So you really do have access. Don't be shy to go as far as, getting off of the, I would say career sites, social media wise, to going to some of the socializing ones like IG, Snapchat, Facebook, to connect with individuals and ask those questions as well.
I like that. I like that. You a spy.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I'm going to piggyback off of something you just said. So you said, you kind of have some inside tips based off of, your role and, the type of rooms and audience that you've been around. But, that's another thing. A lot of times we are distracted by a lot of things at work, and I mean, it's just normal. But take notes, pay attention, ask questions. If you're really driven and motivated to do whatever, if it's just to become better at your job, to form better relationships, just to have open discussions about, different issues or challenges, opportunities, ask questions. Take notes, do your research. That's like the key to everything. And I want to say that I actually didn't learn that from my work experience. I actually learned that, as you probably can relate, from NYU. That is, NYU is all about, NYU, New York University is all about the research. Getting the evidence, fact checking, analyzing things, and just, being motivated, like persistent.
Ain't that the truth? You're on mute, Kevin.
About that. One of the things that I want to kind of open up here, and this is why our show creates the transparency, is around the fact that, we're real people too. So I think one of the areas that we don't talk enough about is, why you have a business and parenting. So, big props. I was raised by a single mom who raised her children on her own. And one of the things I would love to kind of get your perspective on is, being a single mom, how do you manage that, the budgeting and then still running a business? Because that's not easy. We've had people come on and say, I'm running a business, never mention other aspects. How have you adjusted to that? And what could you give in terms of insights and tips?
And you're spot on with that. Transparency is key for others to learn from our experiences, or at least to get the most out of the experiences that we share with them. So, being a single parent and managing a business, a career, anything outside of the home is, it's it's difficult. I mean, there's no other answer response to it. It is difficult. It is risky. You're constantly juggling balls. You don't always have the answers. It is stressful. It is tiring. It also puts you in a place where, especially like being a Black woman in the workplace, it puts you in a very vulnerable spot. It definitely leaves you open to microaggression behavior. It leaves you open to all forms of abuse. There are some pros to it in terms of it definitely motivates you. I can definitely say that is where I developed a lot of my project management skills from, being able to think on my feet, becoming a problem solver, being able to turn issues into opportunities, being able to identify risks, being able to mitigate those risks, being able to plan, being able to structure a plan, set a goal with objectives, and actually be able to get things done, but not just getting them done to complete them, but being efficient in the process, being effective, learning how to build relationships. Single parent, that is key. That is so key. From childcare to managing money to needing additional resources, support. It's a tremendous job. It takes a lot of work. It's not a 9 to 5. And I know a lot of people say, well, once you become an entrepreneur, you're always working. Well, add on being a single parent, and it's round the clock. It's 7 days a week, 24/7. It's just never ending. I could be on the line, or, well, now we're doing everything, virtually, but I'm on a Zoom call, or I'm a Teams call, or I'm on some type of video call. And I'm also scrolling with my right hand, ordering food off of Instacart, I'm also on my app for the washer machine, because, now everything is, automated. So digital. So I mean, it's hard. I'm not going to be dishonest. It's hard. It's a challenge, but the reward comes in. For one, I have something to go to outside of my work. A good place. Love, caring, a family. I'm also setting an example for my children. They're seeing me in a very vulnerable, challenging place, and they're learning how to deal with adversity. They're learning how to navigate the channels of life, because no matter how much you plan, that plan is always subject to change. Murphy's Law. You don't really have control. But they're being able to see hands-on right there what's happening. It's also teaching them a lot about how to manage not just a career, a job, but doing things that you're passionate about, doing things that you enjoy, learning how to be diligent, efficient, learning how to start and finish something. I mean, I know people who, they open their door to go dump garbage, and they literally forget, if the phone rings, why the door was open. Even though the garbage is sitting right there. So, to a certain degree, they're learning how to multitask, but also start and finish one thing. They're understanding how to get along with others. When you have so much, I wouldn't say chaos, but stuff going on in your life when you're a single parent, you do have the code switch. I mean, you just have to do it. And what I mean by that is at least the way I'm using the terminology, my demeanor, my energy, my language has to change once I have on my, worker's cap. So it's all.
I love that. Man, I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah, you're getting the feedback, bro. No doubt.
You go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we'd like to do, kind of switch the gears a little bit, the power segment, like just giving us some beer. Um, One of the things is, how did you know you had the talent and power to leave and go out on your own? Obviously you got a little, like you said, blindsided, but how did you tap into that, or how did you know you had it in order to kind of have enough of the power in you, or the will or desire to really say, I got to go out on my own and get this done?
Well, a little secret. Well, not really a big secret, but I
Okay,
did
secrets. Okay.
So I've
Dig in
consulted.
here. Dig in here.
So I do have background experience in consulting. I did early in my work life, I did become an entrepreneur while I was working in the fashion and music industry. So I tested those waters before. So I didn't necessarily, I definitely possessed the confidence to do it. The difference now, in terms of me pivoting in my career from going from full-time permanent, working for an employer, to now I'm going to go back to being my own boss, consulting, 1099, no W-2. So I think what propelled me this time was the uncertainty of COVID. Pretty much the job boards were quiet. I saw job postings for jobs that literally were posted in 2019. And I'm not even speaking about the winter of 2019. I'm speaking about like the posting dates on the ones that had posting dates were like aged like September, August of 2019. Also, I'll be honest, my last round in the workforce as a full-time permanent employee, it was rough, it was rough. Microaggression all day long, which is abuse, It's always something to the, extent of, is that your real hair? Did you cut your hair? If you change your hairstyle, your hair looks so nice today. I had a very smart colored woman who worked for me before. You're so educated. You're very organized.
Somebody actually said colored woman to you? Colored?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. When you present, you like, someone said that you stuck your butt out.
Wow.
You sometimes, don't use your badge to go into authorized areas. You piggyback off of others. Like if you have a lot of stuff in your hand, and someone's opening the door for you, you'll just go through the door. I mean, they're trying to be polite to you, but you really should use your own badge. I thought you just said I don't use my badge. In order to cross an authorized area, whether I'm actually swiping my badge or not, I'm still covered with a badge. So with all of that and many, many, many other examples I could give, COVID allowed me to really take a lot of time to reflect and to really
So hold that thought.
Sorry.
Because with that reflection, we got to pay some bills.
Okay.
So we have only a minute and a half to pay our bills. So once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. We'll be back with Chavay Johnson, the HR expert. Once again, Power Moves on In Touch Radio, Reality radio, where everyone is a star.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
All right, we back. Power moves. And we're discussing the type of microaggressions African American, especially African American women go through in the corporate world. And I love the way you shared that example, Chavay, because, you know, we need to figure out how to get our power back. So with that being said, Chavay, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I'm just confused. I was trying to turn on my camera. It's not like showing. It's weird. Okay.
It's all good. So how does one, because we're in our fourth quarter of our show, so we want to definitely get some solutions and some strategies from you.
Sure.
How does one handle the microaggressions, and what should they say or do?
So this is all, so any strategy that you would use, it's circumstantial. You know, if there is fear or there is a threat to terminate you for speaking up, you know, or just, you know, you think it's going to escalate into something bigger than just having a one-to-one conversation with that individual, I would strongly suggest that you invite someone who is on either your level or someone who is on their level that you have a relationship with. First of all, you must have a relationship with them. And I don't recommend that you directly go to HR, because HR always works with the business. HR is the gatekeeper and protector, defender, quarterback, point guard for the business. So I'm going to be very honest with you. You know, that I would only suggest you do that if you're going to invite another party, like a third party, someone that you have a relationship with. So you can engage that way, or, you know, right in the moment, if, you know, a microaggression behavior, statement, remark occurs, you can ask that person for an example. You know, for example, I gave you the example about my hair. Touching my hair, is my hair real? You can ask the individual, can you give me an example of anyone else here you've asked that question to? I'm just curious.
I like that.
Or, you could say something like, that's very interesting that you asked me that question. That's another phrase you can use. That's very interesting that you've asked me that question. And then, you could ask them, if they were asked the same question, how would that make them feel? How would they answer that question? And you want to do it in a way where you're not being facetious. You're not trying to be combative or confrontational, but you're just really trying to open up a friendly conversation, because sometimes the remarks, even though they may seem biased, prejudiced, sometimes they're not intentional. It's a behavior, and that individual just, it hasn't been addressed before. So they've been very comfortable in repeating that same offense. And but I will say this, us being in a marginalized group, that isn't typically the case. The case is generally to offend, you know, to express a bias or a prejudice, to, it's an insult. You have to sometimes determine, as I said earlier, when I'm strategizing about comp, where you're going to get the most value. Because with some individuals, you can open up a conversation, you're not going to get a lot of value there. So you have to really determine in the moment, are you going to get any value from speaking to this person directly? Or is there another call of action maybe that you should take? I'm going to say this up front. If it is something that is derogatory, disrespectful, remark, I strongly suggest that you take action and you have a conversation with someone in HR, specifically because that type of behavior is aggressive. Any type of racist remarks definitely should not be racist, sexist, gender related, should not be overlooked. It's only going to bubble up into something larger. And if you don't address it in the beginning, it might, spiral out of control. And then you won't most likely be taken very serious, because the unspoken impression from anyone you would speak to in an authoritative position is going to be, why were you so passive aggressive? Why didn't you address this before? Where's your documentation? Have you had a conversation with this person? What action have you taken? So they often put the onus on you.
Well, Kevin, what you got to say, man? I know you chomping on the bit right now.
Well, I mean, there's, the aggression part, I feel it too. I can recall someone saying, to me, hey, since you've been in COVID, this was recently, your hair's changed. Can I touch your hair? Like, can I? And they wanted to, like, they literally went like that. And I like almost slapped their hands. And that in itself is, like you're saying, aggression. It's like you pat dogs' hair, you don't pat humans' hair. Like,
Right.
that's like something to kind of make me feel like some type of amusement or something you don't take as serious. So I just want to pull on it, and like, that's part of my body. That's an extension of me. Whether I have, short hair, long hair, no hair, like, you don't do that. It's just like inappropriate. But people take liberties, and you have to stop them dead in their tracks and say, no, there'll be no touching of the hair. And as a matter of fact, I'm offended that you want to pull or touch on my hair. This is like not something I would ask anybody to do. I don't expect you to ask that of me. So I'm just letting you know, I'm not of that. I don't want anybody touching me like that. So that's something that happens, and you just have to be prepared and handle it, as poised as you can. Some people can get aggressive around it, and but I try to like have a little diplomacy. But I do teach, say, hey, that offend me. And I think you might agree with this, Chavay, is that there's a sense of like, saying ouch, but you educate. What I
Yes.
try to do, like, hey, that offended me, but I educate. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I love I agree with what you guys are saying, and I'm taking some mental notes. I love the word phrases that you're mentioning, Chavez, and and this is a perfect way to get your power back, is understanding how to handle it. Like you said, it let people know that you're hurt by it, and then you educate. So I love that. Let's kind of and we're going to merge this into the respect segment because it kind of blends together, right?
Hmm.
So from a respect segment, can you describe from a continuation perspective as you're going into this, Chavez, because we only got like 4 minutes left, you
sure.
know how do we gain back our respect when it comes down to this? Because a lot of times, you come back from HR, you come back from, people think you're a quote unquote whistleblower, or, you know, um,
Snitch.
Hmm.
the snitch, yeah, et cetera, et
It's a
cetera.
great, it's a
So,
great point, though. It's a very good
Crybaby.
point. Very good
right,
point.
A
a
crybaby.
crybaby, exactly. So how do we get our respect back when we were initially disrespected in the first place?
Or
So
they call you weak. Yeah, so
yes,
you gotta be
I
careful.
was
Yep.
gonna, yeah, yeah. So it's also, sometimes categorized as a form of weakness. You're trying to play the victim
Mm-hmm.
role. You should have addressed it. You're being a passive aggressive. So,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I definitely want to do with my platform that I'm developing, and, as I develop it and as I speak and share what I'm doing in terms of advocating for victims of, and let me rephrase that. I actually coined it microaggression survivor. I'm starting that whole movement. I'm a voice for
Mm-hmm.
individuals that have experienced this type of behavior. You are not a victim. When it's no different than, surviving cancer, surviving a car crash, surviving loss of a loved one. You need support. You need tools, you need resources, you need someone to speak to, you need a coach, you need a mentor, you need to speak to someone who has shared the same experience. It's very challenging for anyone to manage anything when it's their first experience or they don't have any point of reference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. So, acknowledging that it occurred, not allowing it to trigger emotions, doing your research, understanding what took place, learning ways
Mm-hmm.
to address it, and and understanding that there are people, like you said, gaining back the respect. You have to understand that your peers have experienced things before. And, this is a challenge, but you have to turn it into an opportunity. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times when we go through things, the process is what kills us, because we just are overwhelmed. So, and we don't do our research and we don't reach out, we just hold it in. So the first thing is, you need to have a place or someone that you can talk to about it. And they may not have ever experienced it. They may not be able to support you. So you really need to be talking to someone that'll just listen to you. That's number one. Number two, depending on the circumstances, the issue has to be addressed. Whether that is a conversation, whether that is just rebuilding yourself, and building up your self confidence to understand that those insults, remarks, or behavior, that was done against you is not for you. So everything that's done against you is not for you. So
Mm-hmm.
that individual that is, performing that behavior against you, which is a form of abuse, has most likely been abused. So you have to really, understand the principles that are involved. The last thing is, if you do seek to take any type of action, know that with any action you take at your employer or organization, there may be a reaction. that reaction may not be the outcome you were expecting. So prepare yourself for that as well. There's so many levels of that assault. I can't just, group it all into one category, but I can say this: if it involves any type of touching, any violation of your body parts, there's any terror or threats, imposed against you, then you really need to take action, make those who are in authority around you aware. But if these are just subtle, unintentional, or just snide remarks, if there is an opportunity to address with that individual directly, do so. If you think it's going to bring you harm or escalate the issue, then again, do your research. There are sites similar to what I'm speaking about. There's information out there. Find someone that you feel comfortable sharing. I'm not going to say trust because, depending on what people hear, sometimes their reactions, are, change depending on their experience. If they were once, an offender, then, they're going to react a certain way. But if they were a respondent, they're going to react differently. So, it all depends. But in terms of earning your respect back, just know that those things don't define you. That's just a characteristic and behavior of that individual. It's a form of abuse. And you're going to have to take action either in your personal life or in your professional life or both.
Awesome.
Got it.
Well, this was great. And thank you very much for sharing, Chavay. What's a great way for folks to follow your movement and to get more information about, your microaggression? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't know if you were going to say anything else. Basically, right now, you can follow me on LinkedIn. And you can provide them with that information. You can follow me, C. Johnson, LinkedIn. That's one way. I also have a website, which is under construction as we speak, microaggression.com. You can also hashtag me on any of the social media outlets, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not on Snapchat yet. And just hashtag microaggression survivor.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, I want to end our show with two things. One, we want, in loving memory of Dave BMX legend Pawson, one of the founding members of Bulldog Bikes, recently passed away. Part of that is the mental health. So that's why it's so important to neutralize the negativity. So please, reach out, whether it's to get mental health, to really get through these tough times that we're going through. And then the other is, close friend of mine, like a sister. She was on the show currently. Prayers for her as she is battling COVID and going to the hospital for Miss Carmetta Seeley. So, be careful out there. This disease, this pandemic is pretty serious. So I wish you guys the best. And once again, this is a great show on Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. See you next week. We're going to have my buddy who is partnered up with Snoop on the Indago Gin. I'll just get confirmation. We may or may not have him, but we'll see. All right. See you next week. Thank you, Kev.
Thank you, DJ Anna. Thank you, Chavay.
Thank you. Thank you.